Hello, hello, Sunflower Nation. This is Dr. Edith Banks with another edition of Women in Leadership. For the month of March, we are hosting a special series where we will be showcasing women entrepreneurs who will share their journeys with you. We'll talk about all kinds of things like being inspired to start our own businesses, talking about some of the challenges that we face, balancing these new journeys while still being moms and wives and everything else that we do, as well as providing tips and advice for aspiring entrepreneurs. So sit tight and listen up because we have got some stories for you. So tell us a little bit about your business and what inspired you to get started.
My business is a sustainable luxury swimwear brand. It's aimed to handle problem areas of the women's body, especially women who are between the ages of 40 and 60 who still have a body, but gravity has hit. And they can't wear the trendy swimwear because it doesn't have the support. So a lot of the swimsuits have support, technology support in it, or are double fabric so that they're not see-through. Yeah, it's biodegradable. The entire line is sustainable. I've always known that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't have the niche. And funny enough, I've been obsessed with beach environments. I collect swimwear, and I have been a designer for the past 25 years in the fashion industry. And a fall where I was on a photo shoot, I broke my tailbone and it went undiagnosed and it healed improperly. And then I fell again, conducting a fitting, and led to 3 spinal procedures to my lower back. And during this time, I just sat back and said, you know what can I do? How fast can I do this? What do you know? And the last 15 years of my life, I've been focusing on dancewear, intimate apparel, and swimwear. So I said, that's it. I'm going to do swimwear. And it just took off from there.
Is for us to help our clients, help organizations really find transformative ways of having people conceptualize what does their future look like. And so in basic terms, yes, I have college counseling experience. I've been doing such for over 12 years now and have loved it. But throughout my experience as a college counselor, a school counselor by trade, right? I have noticed that it's just a little deeper than just, going to school and getting a degree. I think it is about understanding what does our future look like, what type of life do we want to live, and really understanding what are our skill sets, our passions, our values, and how does that tie into a career or a quality of life, right? Because I think within American culture, we're also very career driven, but then we're also noticing that personally, there are some things that are missing, right? And so for me, my work entails working with students, young adults, professionals, veterans, right, within career professional spaces, and understanding what are the next steps for me and what does it look like to have a fulfilling life, whether that be career-wise or whether it be experience of working with low socioeconomic status students from urban areas, and helping them and their families, many of them being first generation college going or college bound students, navigate the college admissions and financial aid process. And through that experience, I realized that understanding your career, understanding the next pathway for your life takes a little bit of education. In addition to doing that, I have had some experience with curriculum design in regards to financial literacy as well, and developing some of those life skills for the students within that group. And from that experience, I realized that there are more students that may not have that level of support or understanding at their respective schools and high schools. And so when I think about all of those experiences that I've had in working with students over the years, working with young adults, working with young professionals, working with veteran professionals, right? In the sense of I've been in this career for years, decades. What do I do now? What is my resume? What is a LinkedIn? What does that look like in terms of networking? And in those experiences, I said, well, why not? Why not meet the need? And I think the biggest thing for me this year has been really just trying to get my name out there in the sense of connecting with organizations as well, and providing workshops, right? Because I think that, yes, starting a business, you want to make money, but for me, I particularly feel like this is a calling on my life, and I truly love this. If you look at my personal Instagram, it says college access zealot, right? Because I live and breathe this. And so I also see the need, especially for some of our communities that need this information, that are trying to make a headway into industries or into spaces. And sometimes, we can't always afford it. So that has been, a true motivating factor for me in terms of starting this business and looking at the need.
So the Colibri Notary Services is, as it sounds, I am a notary in New Jersey and a loan signing agent. And so that is geared towards that business. The Ariane Etuk, which is a digital marketing business designed to help attorneys with growing firms grow their leads organically through social media traffic, launched in 2023. So they officially launched towards the end of 2023, but they were established mid-2023 as I was winding down my last job. Since 2004, I've been an attorney in New York, Florida, and the Bahamas. And more recently, as an attorney, I was the legal representative for the Bahamas at the United Nations. So I was dealing with the Sixth Committee at the United Nations, which is the legal committee, as a diplomat. I think, well, first you get sort of caught on a track. There are a lot of people that get caught on a track. You pick a profession, you go down a certain road because either you've started on that road and it's so much easier to stay on that road, or because it's comfortable. And I really enjoyed what I was doing. I liked my jobs. I can't say that I loved every bit of them, or that somewhere along the way I didn't get a hankering or a feeling of, is this what I really want my life to be? Including, do I want to be working until 11 p.m. every night and then trying to come home and giving what's left of me to my husband or my son, who is now 2.5. And I just kind of got to the point where, when the opportunity arose to resign and move on to some of the things that I actually wanted to be doing with my life and prioritizing with my time, I did it. And yes, it's scary. It's scary because, it's almost like buyer's remorse. You pull the trigger and then you're like, wait a second, maybe, maybe I should have gone into another job. And people asked, they're like, are you going to go into something else? Are you going to go back to a law firm? Are you going to go back to practice? And you think that's the easy way, but is that what I really want to do? And I'm now, not to share my age, but to share my age, I'm now 45, and it was just sort of the feeling of, if not now, when? When am I going to finally do something for me and maybe take that chance? And I was like, now's the time.
Abraham's Crew is a faith-based brand that is a lifestyle for those who believe. So it's not just products and accessories. It plans to be a faith house. Like, the actual plan is for me to have a website where people can find deeper study on scripture, worship songs, motivation, things that we need as people in the body just to sustain life here on earth, because it's really difficult, especially when the world is so secular. Okay, so back in 2020 and through 2022, I had what many people may consider, since I'm in the body, right? Like a secular line. So I had a social justice t-shirt line, which was called an A-line apparel. And even when I had that business and it was highly popular, I kept feeling this nudge. And I promise you, it was like, okay, I have to start this, because while I'm handling this problem, there's a bunch of us who are struggling and suffering, and it's highly beneficial for me to begin this. So I went through a series of issues. I dissolved my t-shirt business, but I still carried the mission out through nonprofit that I had started. But then life happens, and in my family, I had a series of issues, and it's been a tough 2 years. So now I'm restarting. The new nonprofit that I'm starting is intended to be launched in the fall, but right now I have to take care of this because this was on the back burner for so long. So honestly, it was just like the Holy Spirit nudging me, like, hey, I put this in you. You have to do something. I'm not telling you this for nothing, like let's get this going. And I actually registered everything, filed my paperwork and everything back in 2022. And then as soon as I did that, all these things started happening, was giving me the 2-year delay. So now it's like, okay, I am launching Resurrection Sunday, which is Easter Sunday, and it is literally to the date. Literally to the date. So I'm excited. It's a long time coming. It was way overdue. Really, really way overdue.
New mind, body, and soul. I am a certified holistic wellness coach. And it all stemmed from my own experience in 2003 when I was diagnosed with lupus. And so I was on a search and a journey not to be stuck on the medications that the doctors wanted me to take. So what I found out is our cells regenerate every 72 hours. And by that knowledge alone, a light bulb went off. What if I ate a little more healthier, gave up some of those processed foods, got a little more sleep, balanced my stress as much as I could? What if all of those things made a difference? And I'm here to tell you that it did. It did. My flare-ups are close to none. I'm happy to say at the time I was in my 40s, 2 small children, and just life, commuting back and forth to work and just taking care of things that we needed to do in everyday life. And so what I realized is everything happened because I made a mindset change. And that's how Be New was birthed, because it was mind, body, and soul. When your mind decides to do something, just like we've decided to get together tonight and we've chosen the things that we're wearing, then the body follows. And my spirit just aligned with what was in God's word from back in Genesis. I said, if that's how they ate back then, why can't I try it? What if? And I did. And the results have been amazing. And so as a health and wellness coach, I want people to know, one, you don't have to be alone. I'm here to walk alongside of you to help you mind, body, and soul. And it's not just food. It's about getting better sleep, healthier nutrition. How do you de-stress? How do you plan your day? How do you do meal prep? How do you process things? What do you do when you're upset? What kind of breathing and relaxation techniques do you have? So it's not just about food. Think of it as a tree. We have roots, and then you grow and you have many branches and many flowers on it. And so Be New, mind, body, and soul encompasses whatever a person needs, male and female, because I address my concerns for those 30 and over, because when you're in your 20s, you think you're invincible, so you're not interested. But 30s and over, on how to live a more sustainable lifestyle, because we do these diets, and they don't last. They're not sustainable. So I'm here to say, I started this at 41. Here I am at 61, and I'm still doing it.
We are a full-service photography and video studio. We work with clients that are we do a lot of fashion, I will say that, and then talk about my background. But we do events, we do all kinds of photography, we capture video, we work with a lot of corporate clients, we work with models, and we work with everyday individuals that want to have their fashion moment. I was always so exposed to that, and I went in my background. My dad's an accountant, so I went the corporate route. I have an MBA in marketing and finance, so I had this kind of like dual personality, and I think that photography always provided that outlet for me. And I worked in the fashion industry for over 20 years, working for companies like Calvin Klein Jeans, Cole Haan, The Gap, and it was so stressful. I loved it, but it was very stressful. So I did a lot of artistic endeavors. I pursued that on the outside. And I think I would say in maybe about 5 years ago, I just was burnt out, mental health wise. It was a lot. So I decided to, leave that industry. And one of the things that I think, as women is we look at what we think we should do. And I think that I've always been a creative person. I just never saw it as a viable career path. And once I left the fashion industry, I decided to pursue, my dream. So that's where this led me. I've been doing this full time for about maybe I would say 4 years now. I started during the pandemic, and I love it. I mean, it's been hard to grow, especially during this time period. But it's been an amazing experience. So
I am a licensed esthetician. I've been licensed since 2019, and I immediately started working in the industry, and then COVID hit. So I had to kind of take a step back and go back to corporate America, but I've been maintaining my business on the side. So I do facials, different types of facials, microdermabrasion, dermaplaning, standard facials, chemical peels, pretty much the works. Um, and I also do makeup. So I do like weddings or photo shoots, dance recitals, things of that nature, fashion shows, things like that. It's funny. I was talking to my mom one day, and she was telling me how proud she is of me being an entrepreneur and how I was doing something that she could never do. And I had to remind her that growing up, she's always been the mom who sold Tupperware, sold Avon, sold jewelry, like all these things on the side. And I told her, I said, you're an entrepreneur too, because it takes that same drive to make that business work than it does, a business that you might start from the ground up. So I would say my mom was a really big influence for me.
From a long line of folks in my family that have medical backgrounds. I came into healthcare kicking and screaming, I'm not embarrassed to say. I felt like everyone in my family always knew what they wanted to do, inherently, and I wasn't one of those people. About a year ago, I heard somebody succinctly say that the people that don't know that are the lucky ones, and that stopped me in my tracks because I always try to take all the things that I do well and find a way to put them together. It wasn't a clear-cut path for me. I was very afraid of seeing blood when I was younger, and that idea alone kept me from being in healthcare. Meanwhile, my grandfather was a doctor, my mother was a nurse, my sister and her husband are both veterinarians. My aunt was one of the leading women anthropologists in the country and the first to set chimpanzees free from laboratory cages and teach them how to be rehabilitated. And I was so proud of her. But my path, again, was unclear. I became a candy striper, as it was known back in the day, at a local hospital, and still, tried to figure out where I fit into the healthcare model. And when I was working in a hospital, I was really proud to mentor high school and early college students, because I wanted them to see, like me, that you don't necessarily have to be a nurse or a doctor to go into healthcare. And I have, throughout my career, been on the human side and on the animal side. And while there are pluses to both, I really feel like because I'm a people person, I'm more suited to be on the human side, because there is room to help not just the patient, but their families. And I've worked with everyone from infants to geriatrics, C-suite staff. And, the one thing I've learned about healthcare is that when people go to a hospital, everyone is scared, even a new mom giving birth. And they're scared of what they're going to find out. They're scared of a procedure. They're scared of their physical symptoms. And there's real opportunity to be a comfort to somebody, even in the worst times of their life. We all want a good outcome health-wise, and sometimes we haven't lived the life that we should have to maintain that. And there's heartbreak in there too, but there's also a renewed sense of life, like for people that are grateful just to live, and so once that sort of gets a hold of you in your heart, and I'm a storyteller, so I see stories in everyone's journey, and I like to do it through my writing and through photography. And so for me, when I found out that I didn't have to put on the white coat, it really showed me that there was room to bring my passions in a way that was perhaps not so clinical.
A small boutique cafe for mainly gourmet healthy meals, using clean ingredients. And it's just pretty much come in, you get something light, and then you could pick up actually a healthy salad or a wrap to go for lunch. So everything is made with quality, clean ingredients. So that's my focus, to grab that customer, and they don't have to worry about having a lot of processed foods. So most of the foods at the cafe will be fresh to order. Inspiring me is my passion for food. I had a passion for food since I was a little girl. Thanks to my parents. My mom always took us to really nice restaurants growing up. And she always wanted us to, when we went out of town, she always wanted us to try new restaurants and always to order off the menu of something that we couldn't get at home. So she's the one that planted it in me with food, the passion and love for food. But as I grew up and I started going to different places, and I realized a lot of the food just wasn't clean over the years, and talking to people and people in the family having elements such as high blood pressure, diabetes, thyroid disease, and all different types of elements. And I just kind of switched my cooking into more of a clean. And I guess the foundation from the clean cooking and the holistic style of cooking comes from my dad, because my dad is a vegetarian, and he's really big on also clean eating and not eating a lot of processed food. So the combination of my parents actually really inspired me, and I think God just gave me these hands to be able to create. And I have a passion for food and creating a beautiful palette on the plate, so people can kind of eat with their eyes, and I eat with my eyes. So I was trying to make the food look beautiful on the plate.
Was there a pivotal moment that happened, that aha moment where you feel like, this is it? I have to stop dreaming about this business and actually implement it?
During the pandemic, when everybody started to dissipate, like, it just was the aha moment, how, I wanted to just be that inspiration and that guidance from my direct community. Just seeing how, people were just unaware of how food is the ultimate, culprit of a lot of these elements, so during the pandemic, I just like really just zeroed in on actually, studying. I had a couple of meal prep clients that were strictly vegan, raw vegan, some was vegetarians, and just the regular lifestyle where they didn't want to buy bad lunch out. So I had accumulated a lot of clients during COVID, and that just made me want to get into it more, seeing how a lot of people wanted to eat clean. They just don't know about how to go about it. And also back, if you remember during COVID, when we were able to go to the store like once or twice a week, and a lot of people just didn't know how to create something that was in their pantry or whatever they had. So I had started this little chat where people would just text me and tell me the 5 or 6 ingredients that they had in the home, and I would help them build a recipe for that. So a lot of people just can't think on a whim because that's just not their thing. It's my thing. So they would call me. I also gave some virtual cooking classes during COVID where they wanted to, because people were celebrating special moments, but they couldn't go out. So they just wanted to make a nice dinner for their significant other. So I had about 2 or 3 clients that I virtually trained how to prepare a nice meal for their partner.
Going out with my girls, they would ask me to do their makeup, and things like that. So I, did it happily because I love doing it. That's my thing. And my friends would also ask me about products, about skincare products. What do you think of this moisturizer? What do you think of this cleanser? Asking me my opinion on different things. And I said, this is something that I love to talk about. I love to do. So why not make a business out of it, And so I was at a time in my life where I just had my son. He was maybe 2 at the time. My job was demanding a lot of time from me. And I thought then was the time to make that pivot and try to, start out on my own.
Worked at the company I was working for had done a lot of transitions. They had pulled together all these different people, and I think that I I would say it started. My mom passed away, and I'd given her my kidney, so we did a kidney transplant. But unfortunately for her, she just got an infection, so it didn't work for her. But the thing is that the happiness that she had during that time when she was better off of dialysis was, it's just so it was definitely rewarding. And once that happened, it just really made me look at life in a much different perspective. And I think things become a little more clearer to you. It took some time to kind of get through that. But then I really wanted to, have a more fulfilling life. And I think that when I was having this stress, there were some microaggressions. It was just very, kind of uh, it brought me down, and I decided that I didn't want to experience that anymore. I mean, I think a lot of industries can be that way for Black women, but especially that industry is very isolating sometimes. You have to really be strong to be successful in it. And I was, at the executive level, so I really had put the time in, the hours, and I found that after you put all that time in, you get kind of to the end, and you still, it's like, what have I really accomplished? And I really wanted to do something that was much more fulfilling. And yeah, I kind of got to that point where I just, it was a couple of things that happened at work, and I just wanted to just remove myself from that, because I thought to myself, what is most important? And I would say my mental health is most important. And that's why I decided to leave that situation. So
On the personal side of things, again, to share age, but at the age of 42 and a half, I had my first child. And, you get to a point where, like I said, I would be coming home from work at strange hours of the night because I've been working so hard. And I've been accustomed for many decades to dedicating my life to work and giving everything to the job. But you come home and you think you're giving the best of you to your family. I got to a point where I was realizing that he was then 1.5, my son, and things were changing on a daily basis. Like he was just growing and flourishing. And it was great to get the pictures and the videos from my husband, who has been working from home, I should say, since before the pandemic. So he was accustomed to seeing things happening, like the first steps and this and that. And you just kind of get to that point where you're like, I want to be there. I don't want to watch this from afar. And like I said, when the opportunity presented itself, meaning I got to a point at work. So in my position as a diplomat, the usual cycle for people is a 3-year term. I'd already done 6.5 years. It had been requested that I renew my contracts for a couple of terms, and I'd been asked to renew it for one more, which would have put me at 9 years. So I'd already gone over the usual limit. And, I think part of a challenge that we have is also knowing when to let go. Like when it's not, it was a great position, but it may not have been serving me anymore at that point. And so the opportunity presented itself, and I said, okay, I'm not going to go into 2023 doing the same thing. Because if I start something in January, I'm going to see it through till the end of the year. And then I'll find out 50 years later that I'm just seeing stuff through. So that's what happened.
I had to conquer fear. I had a fear of failure. So I was a type A personality to where I always wanted to better myself. I had to go and get the latest certificate. I took a teaching job and I taught fashion and I took some pattern making and hindsight, it all actually got me to where I am now, where I felt very well prepared. But the pivotal moment was where I lost it all. And I said, you know what? I can't lose anymore. So this is it.
What was your biggest fear in starting your business?
I think there's some imposter syndrome in the sense of if you look at college admissions counseling, you don't see many people of color, particularly Black. And so there was a particular fear that who would even believe me as a Black woman that I can get their child into such and such school or that I can provide them, guidance. And of course, that being imposter syndrome of, even with all of the things that I've done throughout my professional career, there's still that doubt, as well as there's a feeling that, the market is saturated, right? And so, of course, I'm another college admissions counselor. I think another piece too is the college admissions scandal. That was also pretty big a couple of years ago. And so, trying to find your space of that. But I think what has helped me is one, getting a SCORE mentor through the state of New Jersey really helped in kind of working through that. As well as I think, with starting a business, you want to do it right. So that for me, I'm a little type A. So I'm thinking about, not just the business plan, but what does my budget look like? How am I going to get a checking or a credit card? But I'm not getting any profit. What does marketing look like? What do taxes look like? Like all of these additional things are happening and, you're thinking about. And so what I think is helpful is just trying to kind of brain dump and just let my thoughts be out there on a paper or something so that I can kind of work through some of those anxieties, some of those insecurities. So yeah.
I mean, my biggest fear was just starting something new and taking a risk. People have a fear of failure, and what if this doesn't work out or, what have you. But, I had to think about, I've always been a hard worker. I've always, hustled. I've never been afraid to take chances and talk to people and, get my name out there. So, um, it was time, but it was scary. It was definitely was scary because again, Verizon, one company for 20 years, they pretty much raised me, so but I had a lot of support and so I took the leap.
I think just, still being financially secure. I mean, I think that definitely is a huge fear, that will I be able to, you know, continue and repeat the same um, world, and I think that one of the things that I've learned is that a lot of it comes with planning. I think for me, I probably didn't plan as much, because I was a little bit more um like wanting to, focus on my mental health, and I kind of did that first, and now I'm, kind of starting to really expand into that area. So I think for me it was just a little bit of a different focus, but I think the fear is definitely, will my business be successful? I think we all, worry about that. Yeah.
Will I be able to sustain a lifestyle that I had acquired from working? Because when I retired, it wasn't planned. I was just fed up. I was fed up of working and doing things that I no longer cared about. I had two daughters in college. So by you could say realistic, clear minds, they'd have been like, girl, you can't retire. How you gonna get these girls through college? And I just kept saying, but God sees my heart. And he knows that I'm not satisfied here. I'm not living and doing what he's put in me to do. And so it was time to go. So yes, I was very afraid. But now, 2 years in, I can tell you it's the best decision I ever made. There are no regrets. I miss some of my coworkers, but I don't regret leaving the job at all.
So due to the fact that I had to overcome the fear of failure first, with doing that, I believe the fear that I had was that no one would like it. And, I've worked for very prominent designers and celebrities and realized that I could sell out their clothes, which were my designs under their name. And then I said, well, why can't I do this for myself? So my biggest block was myself. And once I learned that, the fear, I don't really have, it's not that I don't have fear, I just don't let it hold me back.
The resources, location, pretty much, and also just getting people to realize the product that goes into cooking clean, versus the bottom line of price. Targeting that clientele that understands the quality of ingredients. Where you're not just kind of putting processed by filler stuff in it to create for production, where just targeting that client to understand what goes along with quality clean ingredients.
Do you still work a traditional 9-to-5 job?
Hired in 2 years ago, and that's when Be New really started to come alive and launch. That's when I started getting on out there, telling people about it, talking to more friends and family, because while I was working, it was just a thought. It was just something I was doing quietly. I would talk to friends here and there. But when I retired, I was like, now it's time. Get a license. I have my LLC. Let's do it the right way and get out there. Yeah. I was an administrative assistant to various judges. I worked for the New York State Supreme Court system. Over 32 years. I was with one judge for 30 years. And when she retired, they sent me to work with Chief Judge DeFiore, Midtown. And so I was there for a couple of months, and then they sent me down to the main office in the Human Resources Department. And after a while, I was just like, I'm done. I have what I need. I have more than 30 years. I was over 55 when I retired. I said, let me do what I'm passionate about, because
I am a school counselor in a high school. So you heard there goes the bell. And so yes, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. I am a school counselor, and so Evolving Futures Consulting. I do work on, afterwards.
Back to work, not at Verizon, at a different company. I work for a medical equipment company. But So I'm doing that. That's my 9 to 5. And then I would say, I do facials weeknights, weekends, alternating weekends. Um, yeah, whenever I can fit it in. So, and I've actually been pretty busy this quarter, so that's a good thing.
Is your goal to eventually do the facials full time?
I would love to. I would love to. If I could earn if I can earn what I'm earning in my 9 to 5, then yes, I would make that transition. And I was actually telling someone, I'm actually it's funny, at my age, I'm closer to retiring than I was when I first started working, so the thought process now is, what am I going to do when I retire? What am I going to do, when I'm 60 or what have you? I can't stay working in corporate America forever. This is something, so I'm glad that I have this skill, because this is something I could definitely, keep doing as I get older and even into retirement, have my own business, and just working my own business. So it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
And I cannot wait for you to hear the rest of this series. Next week, our entrepreneurs will be talking about how they balance all of the responsibilities of their lives. What do their family dynamics look like? And some of the challenges they have faced specifically because they are women. So I hope you will join us next Friday at 8 p.m. for our second edition of Sunflower Nation's Women in Leadership, Female Entrepreneurs. May our hearts be filled with the brightest of sunflowers, even on the cloudiest of days. Wishing you love and positive vibes. Until next time.